In today's episode, we will talk about: are you committed enough to learn the languages? 5 elements that you need to be consistent in language learning. A simple exercise to boost your consistency and your discipline. Hello and welcome back. I asked you guys the other day on Twitter and Instagram, what was your biggest obstacle when learning a language? I got many answers, but one that really stuck with me was consistency. This is something that most of my students, if not all of my students, struggle with. I know this because when I ask my students or potential students why do they want to work with a language coach, they always answer 2 things. The first one is that they want techniques and methods that adapt well to their lifestyle. They want, more personalized learning. And the second one is that they want someone that motivates them and keeps them on track, aka consistent. I have struggled with consistency myself, and I found that there are 5 elements that will help you be more consistent and more disciplined when it comes to language learning. And it's really the difference between a hyper polyglot and someone who struggles learning just their second language. We will cover those areas in a minute. Just so you know, this is what we're going to be talking about: habits, planning, tracking your progress, motivation and discipline, and accountability. But before we jump into all of that, I want to talk about the number 1 thing that you need to know. If consistency is a mix of those words and those elements that I just mentioned, the drive that will build momentum, that will absolutely help you stay consistent, is commitment. The problem with commitment, though, is that it can look very, very different for many people. I want you to ask yourself the following question and answer it. And the question is, how committed are you to learning languages? Think about the why. Think about the benefits that will bring you. Is it because it is a hobby and it makes you happy to study languages? Is it because you are applying for a university abroad or a job abroad? Is it because your spouse, partner, or someone in your family speaks this language? Really think about it and write down, why are you committed to learn this language? And how committed you are will directly reflect in your consistency. Now let's say you're committed to learning a language. That's great. That's the right attitude to have. Even if you know your why, even if you're convinced that it will make you happier and even smarter, you struggle with keeping momentum and being consistent. If you're like me, you will love the idea to learn a language, but you will forget to make time for it. But don't worry, I have the 5 elements that you need if you struggle with consistency. You work on these 5 things and I will guarantee you will be more consistent. First thing is, of course, the habits. You need to create the right habits. Now, I made a whole video on my YouTube about it, so I will leave it in the show notes or in the description box if you're watching this from YouTube. But you have to create a set of habits that lead you into learning. How to implement habits: just do one at a time. Pick one habit that you really think that you will enjoy doing every single day and keep track of it. Some things you can do is using apps every day, listening to podcasts every day. Now we have to talk about planning, and I am talking here about planning study sessions, not your habits, not your passive listening that should happen during the day. I am talking about setting time aside to sit down and actually learn a language. Some people plan their language learning, some people never do. I personally do plan my main language, so the one language that I'm focusing on at the moment, and the others I only really fit them in if it's been too long since I've studied them properly. Struggle with consistency, you have to add this hour session to your calendar, to your agenda, or to your bullet journal, whatever method you use. You have to put it in as one task that you have to complete during the day. Now, motivation and discipline come together. Motivation is that desire, is that why you're committed, right? But it comes and goes. Some days you will be more motivated than others, and that's totally normal. But because of this, you cannot rely on motivation on itself. You have to rely on discipline, and that's a little bit harder to do because we will have to convince ourselves to actually have contact with the language every single day. Some days it's easy, some days it isn't. So how do I do it? So I might bribe myself to learning with food or with Netflix. I will tell myself things like, if I learn for 30 minutes straight, I will go buy cake. If I learn for 45 minutes, I will watch trash TV and just do absolutely nothing. I will use this technique on the harder days, on the days where I really don't feel like it, but I know that I have to do it in order to progress. And some other days, simply watching polyglots online, like on YouTube, or reading articles or going on Twitter will get me inspired enough to sit down and have a study session. Now, the next element is tracking. Now, it comes hand in hand with motivation because keeping track of your progress, it's something that it's so satisfactory to see afterwards, how much you've studied, and it really helps you to maintain momentum. to see yourself thrive in this way, learning every single day, or how long you plan to do it. So 2 ways of keeping track. First, keep a log of a tracker of your progress. When you do this, the more specific you are, the better. You will want to write down what you learn, like with what resource, what topics, how many time you spend with it. And you can also include things like, I felt very happy to study today. I was a little unmotivated. I really wanted to do it. I was inspired. I'm not. This emotional log would also help you understand at what times do you study better, and normally during a month, how do you feel regarding language learning. The second way to keep track is to record yourself speaking either on video or audio, or you could keep a writing log and see in a more tangible way how much you've progressed. And for the days that you feel a little bit like, I don't want to study, looking back at it will make you feel confident again to study. Okay, the last element before I give you a practical exercise is accountability. Learning alone can be the reason why you can't be consistent. So learning with friends, being an active member of the language learning community online, hiring a tutor, hiring a language coach like me, joining a group program, a WhatsApp group, attending language meetups regularly, all of that helps with consistency, because using the language, seeing other people learning will inspire you and will drive you to learn, and therefore keep learning and maintain momentum. Languages exist because of our innate need for communication and social interaction. So go and get support in your language journey. No one truly can really learn on their own. We all need someone that corrects us, someone that helps us stay motivated, someone that inspires us, someone to ask questions, someone that will give us answer. And I'm sure that you can find someone that you can learn along with in the polyglot community or the language learning community. Okay, let's move to the exercise. If you want to give yourself a boost of consistency, I want you to challenge yourself. This will be a 1-week challenge, and then reward yourself for completing it. In fact, I will do it myself. I hereby challenge myself to learning Japanese for 2.5 hours this week. And if I complete it, I will make myself pannekuchen with Nutella. Now it's your turn. I want you to challenge yourself. So fill in the blanks. Say, I challenge myself to learn ... Now say your language for ... How many hours this week? 3 hours this week, 6 hours this week. Try not to make it more than 7 hours this week, because that will be a little unrealistic. And if you complete it, what will you give yourself? Will you go out to the cinema? Will you just do nothing? Will you eat something chocolatey and sweetie as I will? Let me know how you're gonna challenge yourself if you're watching YouTube in the comments down below. Okay, this is all for today. Remember to subscribe, follow, and leave a review on the podcast, and to share with your language buddies. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love doing this new project. It's the best. So I will talk to you very soon. Bye.